So we all know that there are major savings to be had in terms of fuel costs with cars like this, the Skoda Enyaq. Any EV is going to save you massively if you can charge at home, not if you have to use public charging. But what about servicing costs? That is often cited as a major saving. Well, this car, the Skoda Enyaq, is now 2 years old and I've had it serviced recently. So what did that cost me and what work was involved? Well, let's dive into that. In the meantime, I decided filming this in front of a wind farm and showing all that Scottish renewable energy would be a great idea. I forgot about the February weather. Let's get inside. Okay, so we're back inside in the warm and the dry now. So this car was in at West End Skoda recently in Edinburgh. It was in there for investigations into the heating issue. I've mentioned this in some videos. That's still not fixed, but I'm told by Skoda that the imminent 5.4.4 update will sort that, they think. So we shall see. Myself and West End are continuing to remain in contact and we're discussing and keeping that under review. So while it was in there, it came up to the time that my car was due for its 2-year service. So you've got two choices on this. You can go to a main dealer or you can go to an independent. We'll come to the independent later. Spoiler alert, I went with West End. That's the first time I've had an Enyaq serviced by them. My previous Enyaq, I got serviced by an independent. So I've had experience of both. What is involved and what does it cost? Well, I shopped around a bit and dealer prices do vary quite a lot. But I actually went with West End because, as I say, the car was there, I know them, and it wasn't too wild. In fact, they were at the more reasonable end of the spectrum. So what I was quoted by them was the base service, £223. The pollen filter they suggested should be changed for £70.98. Now, you can buy a pollen filter. There's one there. That cost me 28 quid at the motor parts supplier, which is right beside West End. I don't know, but I suspect West End buy theirs there as well. Who knows? Anyway, it's a standard fit item. 28 quid for that versus £70.98 to have Skoda fit it. It's really easy. I'll show you in another video coming soon exactly how you can do it. It takes about 2 minutes. So I said, no thank you, that's fine. They also suggested that I required a brake fluid change for £59.58. So 60 quid to change the brake fluid. Now, to be clear, do not take chances with safety on your brakes. For goodness sake, that's what keeps you from certain death. If your car isn't going to brake, you're going to end up in a world of pain. However, brake fluid's good for about 5 years. It doesn't need to be changed every 2 years. What it does require is a check. So for £4 on Amazon, I found this, tested my brake fluid, and guess what? 0 moisture content. Therefore, that is the safety requirement ticked, satisfied. You don't need to change the brake fluid. So I said, no thanks, I'll keep the 60 quid. So the total they were quoting me was £362.94. As I say, I just went for the £223 option. So that was okay. I was quite happy to pay that because I looked around and, as I said, I shopped around for different prices. And Cleveland, who are the people I've used before, Cleveland EV, they're really good. They are an EV specialist and they have a mobile servicing operation. So they will come to your house or your place of work, wherever you like, and they'll service your car. They serviced my first Enyaq, so I went to them first and they said £222. It's £1 different. I'm going to get it done at the Skoda dealer, right? So they also offer a major service, which means that they strip and clean and lubricate your brakes. Only the front ones, because the back are drum brakes and they're sealed. So getting your brakes serviced, if you add that on, a major service, £282. So you can see there that the major service, 282 quid, is way more than is involved in the Skoda service. If I'd gone for the full works with them, £362.94 versus 282. So yeah, that would have been a good option, 282. I continue shopping around. Arnold Clark, a Skoda dealer in Edinburgh, £312. This is just for the base service. So we've got West End at 223, Cleveland at 222, Arnold Clark 312. West End in their other branch in Dunfermline, so Edinburgh's 223, Dunfermline over in Fife, £283.74. I don't know why they're different. Henry's in Glasgow, £281.56. Henry's Glasgow South, £240.76. So again, different branches of the same dealership, different prices. Arnold Clark and Paisley, £312.18. Parks of Hamilton, £332.56. And coming in at the top of the price list, John Clark in Perth, £352.98. That's just for the basic inspection. John Clark in Dundee, again the same group, £271.36. So again, different branches charging different prices. And then a local independent garage, I don't know them at all, but I've got a friend who's a driving instructor with a Volkswagen ID3. She says they're fine. They wanted £155.90. So I could have gone there, but, you know, the car was at West End, so for the difference or for the convenience, I just went with them. Okay, no matter which of those options you go for, it's a lot of money, okay? So what is actually covered for that? So like I say, I went for the £223 basic inspection service. I said, I don't want an aircon service, which is another £150. I don't want my pollen filter changed. I'll do it myself. Watch the video coming up. And don't worry about brake fluid. My brake fluid is absolutely fine. Just do the basic inspection while you've got the car in for the heating work that you're doing. So what exactly is involved in it? Well, luckily, I've got, it's all in this nice little wallet here from West End Skoda, your 5-star documents, and in there, there's a whole bunch of things like leaflets for service plans and so on. But if I go actually to the invoice and then the maintenance list here. So I'll go through the maintenance list. Obviously, the first thing they do is they do a basic safety check and they send you a little video which shows you the technician working underneath your car. And in my case, I think he showed the brake components, he showed the tyres, read out the tread depths. So it's quite an interesting thing. If you've never looked underneath your car, you get it when it's up on the ramp and they show you everything that's there. So that's a nice little touch. So once that's out of the way, what is on the maintenance list? Well, first of all, there is, you can see it on here, a battery report. Now that is a test report and it says that is measuring good battery, and it says it was measuring 13.6 volts. So I would say that is the 12 volt battery. It's not your main traction battery. I've seen some people online saying that you get your traction battery tested. Well, I didn't. Then going through the list that is here. So the check connect services and activate workshop mode. So the car's online. Good. Service interval display, they reset that. That was a problem I had on the last car with Cleveley. They weren't able to reset my service reminder, but I gather that they now can do that. The horn, they check that the function of the horn works. Okay, the horn works. Interior lights, make sure that those are okay. Make sure the headliner is okay, nothing's been ripped. Make sure the glove compartment lights work and the ones in the boot. So things that you would have noticed yourself anyway. Odor and allergy filter. Clean the housing and renew the filter element. Now, I think that must be the pollen filter because I don't think there is another allergy filter in here. So I think that is the one that's under the bonnet, and they say that they have completed that. Interesting, because I asked them not to. Window wash wipe system and the headlight washer system, so they check that everything's spraying okay. And then they check the breakdown set, so that's the puncture repair kit in the boot. Make sure it's still there and it's not been damaged, and they enter the expiry date of the tyre sealant. They haven't entered it here, but fine, I'm not really worried about that. Check that there are wiper blades present and that they're okay. Good. Interior and exterior body, visually inspect for rust with the doors and all the flaps open. Check that the windscreen hasn't been damaged. Make sure that the lights are working, side lights, dipped beam, main beam, fog lights, turn signals and hazard warning lights. These are sort of things you should be checking yourself anyway, periodically. Taillight cluster, check your brake lights are working. check your reversing lights, your rear fog light, the number plate lights, sorry, the turn signals and your hazard warning lights. So that's the hazard warnings being checked twice, presumably front and rear. High voltage charging socket, make sure the charging socket is clean and has not been damaged. Page 2, engine and components in the engine compartment. Well, they've checked that there's an engine. Interesting. Visual inspection for leaks, wear and damage. ABS sensor cable, so making sure that's all fine. Braking system, visual inspection. Change the brake fluid, filling to a quantity of 1 litre. They've ticked that as done. I've asked them not to do that because it was £59. Track rod ends, checking clean. Gearbox. They've checked the gearbox. Interesting. Underbody, visual inspection for damage to and secure fix of underbody sealant, underbody panels. Again, you could see on the video which they sent that was all good. Tyre pressures and tread depth, so the tyre pressures were all fine. And the front left wheel 5.1 millimeters, front right 5.5, rear right 4.9, and rear left 5.1. So they're not wearing evenly, but there's still plenty of tread left on them. Then into the engine compartment. Again, don't think we have an engine compartment, but I'm assuming they mean what's under the bonnet. The plenum chamber. I don't know what that is. They've checked it though, and it's been checked for soiling. If it's to be cleaned, that's a repair measure which is chargeable separately. I've no idea if this car has one, but apparently it's been checked and it's okay. Bonnet catch for secure position and that it works. Check it and lubricate it. Good. Engine and components in the engine compartment. Again, visual inspection of the engine. Good luck finding that in this car. Battery, check with the battery tester. Again, there was a little receipt I mentioned before. Check the cooling system, that it's filled up with the correct level of antifreeze and that it is to the right temperature rating. So mine is rated at -30. If it gets to -30 here, I'll be making a video about it. The worst I've seen here, -17, but that was about 10 years ago. This winter, -11, so it's not been too drastic. Windscreen washer wipe system, refill the screen wash. High voltage components. Now this is something I wouldn't know how to check, and I'm glad that they have. High voltage components and high voltage cables, visual inspection for damage, and make sure they're correctly routed and secured. Good. And then final concluding work, warning stickers. Check that there are warning stickers present. The ones you get under the bonnet that say danger, there's electrical components under here, that sort of thing. Charging cable. Check that the cable is present and check its condition. Mine was at home, but they managed to check that it was there and reported it is in good condition. Interesting. High voltage battery charge status. Check, charge as necessary, only if customer requires. Now my car went in with 51% and it came out with, I think, 20%. So it used a lot while it was in there. They had it for 2 weeks, but they didn't charge it. It says charge if required, but it wasn't done. Headlight adjustment, all fine. Carried out a road test. Enter into the digital service plan so you no longer get a stamp in your service book, and then deactivate workshop mode. So yeah, that is quite a list, but I don't think it's major work, and £223 for doing that. If you work in a dealer, let me know, because you know it's very easy for me to sit here and say that's a lot of money for just kind of visual checking and not replacing pollen filters and not replacing brake fluid, which you could see taking time. It's basically going around and ticking boxes. And as you can see from my list that I've read out, they ticked boxes for checking a charging cable that wasn't there. Go figure. They ticked to say that they found an engine that isn't there either. So yeah, I'd be interested to know, if you work in a dealer, tell me, how long does it take to complete one of these visual inspections? Because 222 quid for that seems to me quite a lot of money. Although, like I say, West End are not wildly out of whack here with what other people are charging. They're at the lower end of what some people are charging. So much for the schedule of the work. And you may or may not suspect that someone's just been ticking boxes as he's gone down and it has ticked, for example, the charging cable, ticked the engine compartment. But what have I actually been charged for? Here is the invoice. And on here it says at the bottom, £223.38. So that's fine, that's what I agreed to pay. But I'm a bit suspicious because they've charged for, or they've listed as doing pollen filters and brake fluid. Have they actually changed it? My first reaction was to look under the bonnet, and yeah, there is a new pollen filter there. So it was £79, I think it was, I said at the start, to change the pollen filter. I've been given one for nothing, and they've changed it for nothing. Or rather, it's in the price. So, great, that's fine. Thank you, West End Skoda. And then I also noticed that they have charged me £10.01 for brake fluid. But again, that's all in the price. So, although they were quoting me separately for pollen filter and for brake fluid, and then for an inspection, I've paid for an inspection, but included in that £223 are £34 for a filter, and as I say, I got mine for £28, and £10 for brake fluid. So I don't know. So I'm very happy with the work that was carried out. The price was what we agreed. I seem to have had more work done than I was expecting. Fantastic. Who doesn't like to get something as a little bonus? So thank you to West End for, as ever, a great service carried out. But I'd be interested to know, what have you paid for your servicing on your EV? It may not even be a Skoda. Famously, Tesla drivers are forever boasting that their cars don't need servicing. They do. What they mean is there's a little trick in Tesla land. Tesla say there's no service schedule, but there is a maintenance schedule. And the maintenance schedule is actually slightly more extensive than the Skoda one. The Skoda one doesn't include stripping, cleaning and lubricating the brakes. Tesla does. Tesla require that, I think it's every year, maybe it's every 2 years, the same as Skoda. But I do remember looking at it before, and it's more extensive. So EVs aren't immune from servicing. They have different servicing. There's no oil to change, there's no plugs to change, none of that oil filter business, all that stuff isn't there, but your brakes still need checked, your suspension still needs checked, all those things that still are present on this car, the same as a fossil fueled car, those things all do need to be looked after. So don't for a moment believe that you're going to have zero servicing costs. You will. It will be cheaper than a petrol car though. So there we go. There is money to be saved on servicing an EV versus a petrol car. We've got petrol and EV cars in our family, and they all cost more than this to service. You can do some of it yourself. As I've said, I'm going to show you in the next video how you change the pollen filter, and you can shop around for a good deal. I'm really happy. Cleveley were quoting 222. They are great. So if you don't live near a main dealer, or you're not happy with the price quoted by a main dealer, by all means look up Cleveley. I'm not affiliated, I'm not sponsored, I'm not endorsed. I'm just a satisfied previous customer of theirs. But in this case, having a main dealer do the same work for £223.38 when they quoted £363 originally, I'm quite happy with that. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think. What have you been paying for servicing? Maybe you're in a fossil car. How much is it costing you for all those oil and filter and spark plug changes, all the stuff that you have to do? I'd really be interested in hearing from you. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in another video, which will be all about pollen filter changing very soon.